Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of Social Ledger Report. This is JR, founder and CEO of Social Market.
Hey, my name's Leon. I'm the Chief Marketing Officer of Social Market. Crypto week is over, right? Is it
It
officially
is.
over? Okay. I
I
I
believe
I,
so.
f- I feel like it was talked about, but also not. Um, Bitcoin hit like all-time highs. Ethereum hit an all-time high. Everyone's talking about Ripple. Like crypto is shifting from Bitcoin era to altcoin era. Maybe you want to pull up some of the social market dashboard and let's just jump in and talk about the dollars and cents of it all.
Yeah, totally. Let me go ahead and share it right now. This is the app for socialmarket.tech. It's live. You can look at it right now at app.socialmarket.tech. This is last week's episode, so you can feel free to watch it when you have a moment. But to go into the markets, you mentioned that it's altcoin season, and that's what is very much happening here in the index. Keep in mind, it says mixed market, but really we're starting to see a pivot into altcoin season because for the longest time, Bitcoin was favored, but now that it's reaching a new all-time high, and I believe as Bitcoin becomes more expensive, it is going to become more accessible for people to just get into altcoins, especially since Ethereum went up to 3,500, I believe, or according to this
37,
chart. Yeah,
37.84.
37. Yeah, so it's going even higher, which means NFTs, layer twos, and everything, it's getting far more popular. So we'll see what happens. Keep in mind, a lot of this data that you're seeing here is live, so we're not just, pulling it or coming up with it ourselves. We do reference from CoinMarketCap for this data as well, so you can also verify the authenticity for it there. Fear and greed index is also at 71%, so it's the markets are seeing the greed. Inflation, it's right about 3%, so it's right around there.
I'm like super excited to see altcoin season starting to happen. Bitcoin season was fine, but it's just like there's so many more coins out there that I think deserve attention. Like Ripple is blowing up, Sui is being talked about, Sol. Ethereum could finally have like a blowout. Like it has not followed Bitcoin at all, and it's one of those blue token chips. So I'm just excited to see way more discussion other than Bitcoin. Like it's nice to see Bitcoin keep flying, but I just think there's so much more fun conversations to be had around the altcoins.
Yeah, I agree. So eventually, what you're seeing right now in crypto markets, you're gonna see decentralized exchange data. I think that is much harder to find, so just keep that in mind for future reference. We're hoping to implement that by the end of the summer, latest. So, yep, we'll keep you notified about it.
So I know we have number one as Polymarket, and it's like breaking news,
Yeah.
within the hour. But I'd love to talk about the Clarity and Genius first, and then pivot into Clarity or into Polymarket if that's cool with you. We can keep some of this in here, but I think it sets up Polymarket coming back to the United States with the Clarity and Genius Act passing.
I agree. Gonna share my screen. All right. Can you see it?
Yeah.
Cool. Great. So this is on Twitter. You can see here shared by Stand with Crypto, the official page where they share the exact moment when the U.S. House votes on Genius and Clarity Acts. This is as of July 17th. I think that was a Thursday. I was on Greece during that time, so I was, not super aware of everything that was happening at the moment. But yeah, it passed by 4 yays and 1 nay as of everyone. Or I guess the very close
No,
margin
the
were
total, you got to go to the end. It was,
and Ev.
oh man, I don't know which one passed. I don't know the
But
final
yeah,
vote. I'd
so
have to Google it real quick. But
yeah, here it is.
they did
So
have problems in the House, and then they had to vote twice on it. Was the whole drama around it, and then they
they
went
did.
they went to it in the end.
Yeah, so it was actually by 307 people that had yays and 122 nays. Most of them were Democrats. Very few Republicans said nay, but even then, a good amount of Democrats did say yay, but most of them were Republicans.
I think all
So
the Democrats that said nay, and then even the Republicans that said nay, I think the big thing was about not having like a official like crypto US currency, like essentially. It's like
Yeah.
something around that thing because of tracking and Big Brother and all of that. Um, they wanted to slide that in, but nobody wanted to slide that in. So, but it passed. And that's, that's huge in the end. It's the first step to making crypto very legitimate.
Yeah, so this is only for stablecoins, which seems to be a more appetizing for normies and for businesses as far as using crypto, which the main appeal component, the more appealing component for crypto is the technology itself. People don't really like the volatility of it. So for stablecoins, I think that is a very valid way to move money or value between countries, especially between businesses and users. So
Yes, and
this can
I
help a
think the
lot.
important part of the Genius too is it mandates one-to-one reserves for cash treasuries. So it's just it's making it safe. It's essentially saying if you have $1 billion worth of stable coin out there, you need $1 billion in reserves. There's way better KYC too, so essentially just like better verifications. There has to be financial audits on these. Like, there's a worry that Tron is just like uncovered, like they don't have enough reserves to cover all the stable coin they have out there. So there's some stuff there, and then it prohibits yield paying stable coins, which is kind of interesting, but it also shifts the crypto oversight from the SEC to the CFTC in very like clear cases. But there's going to be like a regulatory tug of war on the SEC and the CFTC jurisdiction in the end. And then I think the other part of this too is um, the yield prohibition, like, and I don't fully understand some of that, but I know it redirects DeFi capital. So like it's keeping crypto in various ways, but really just stable coins is becoming a remittance platform more than anything.
Yeah, I agree. So before we move on to another topic here, there's a couple of things I do want to share. Cool. Here it is. This is from Cointelegraph on Twitter, and it's from Senator Warren saying the Clarity Act could blow up the value of the New York Stock Exchange. So, yeah, there's still a lot of uncertainty of what could happen after this bill happens, but I'm just going to play this video real quick here. I'm going to play at double the speed as well. Okay, that's too fast. Can you keep track with it?
No,
What if
you're
it's
gonna have to put
1.5?
like 1.5. It's news. I don't know how anybody talks that fast.
Yeah, you're right. Let me play this again at 1.5 the speed.
Senator, I'd like to switch gears here. As we have this conversation over in the other chamber, there is a vote still open in the House to try to pass a procedural hurdle to move forward with a trio of pieces of crypto legislation, all part of Crypto Week, one being the Genius Act, the Stablecoin Bill, of course, the Clarity Act, which is market structure bill, and some anti-CBDC legislation. While the House struggles to find a way forward, you would like to see none of these bills passed, correct? If the Clarity Act comes to the U.S. Senate, you would not be in support.
I want to see us do strong crypto regulation. But what I don't want to do is see the United States government just sign off on very weak regulation that has been written by the industry. The problem with the stablecoin bill and the clarity bill in particular is that they don't do anything about the Donald Trump corruption that is occurring right out in plain view. They also don't put enough safeguards in place for consumer protection to make sure that terrorists and human traffickers and drug traffickers can't use the system, and guardrails to make sure that crypto isn't used to blow up our entire economy. So I'm very worried about that, but I want to add one more twist, and that is the clarity bill has all those problems, but it also has a provision in it that would let any company listed on the New York Stock Exchange opt out of SEC regulations by just digitizing themselves, put themselves on the blockchain, and all of a sudden it turns out that Amazon or Meta or General Motors is no longer governed by the SEC. You do realize that literally would blow up the value of the New York Stock Exchange. That whole stock exchange has been a goose that has laid a lot of golden eggs for people in New York City, for people around the country and around the world. And this would basically just take a baseball bat to it by saying any company that doesn't want to have its books audited and make sure that it's following certain consumer protections and so on can just go somewhere else and be traded on the blockchain. There is nobody in Congress who should support that.
So that's her thoughts. Did you have any immediate thoughts, almost?
Yeah, I don't really love it. Like, I get what she's saying in some capacity that it's going to disrupt like what the New York Stock Exchange is, but I don't like the companies that are going to go do this. It's no different than like like gatekeeping, investments. You have to be an accredited investor over $1 million in assets or make over 250 grand a year. Like there's a lot of guardrails and stuff stopping people from investing in all these companies out there because of the supposed thing of risk. Obviously, you don't want somebody just dumping their whole life investment in some random crypto company, but in the end, like people are not that dumb. Like, and I'm sure there are people out there, but people are going to understand the risk in anything. If you give somebody $10,000 to start a startup, like there's a high risk that you're not going to get that money back. Like, it's not going to stop. So I think in the end, it's a net good. Elizabeth Warren is, in a funny way, kind of aligned in a lot of stuff about antitrust for tech companies, but also very like outside on the crypto and everything. I just think we have to move fast to figure out what this stuff looks like and how does it interact with the traditional finance systems, and then start like legislating faster on rules.
Yeah, I think you put it out perfectly, because oftentimes when we wait around dilly-dallying or trying to come up with some sort of regulation, a lot of the narratives, a lot of the new sets and standards, they're going to change over time. And if we're not moving fast and we're not breaking things, you're, not doing anything right. Funny enough, she mentioned that the Clarity Act and the Genius, or I think it was the Clarity Act, where it doesn't really do much to protect consumers. But something that I did read on Wall Street Journal, which is not going to look very good in favor of Tether, which is right now the most widely used stablecoin. I'm going to share my screen, so then I'll get to it. Here it is. Yeah, so this is from Wall Street Journal. The big loser from the Genius Act is 156 billion crypto giant Tether. Bill laying out rules for stablecoins would force issuers like Tether to be audited and end risky practices. So, for those of you who don't know, Tether, it's widely used on Binance, and Binance is widely used in Asia and other parts outside of the US, for their own reasons, of course. But one thing that Tether is really good at is they don't have any KYC as an issuer. They're kind of like an issuer like Circle is for USDC, but they don't really follow a lot of legislation, a lot of rules for know your customer and anti-laundering money rules or laws. So for those reasons, these bills would actually make them comply. If they want to operate in the US, they need to have their own form of KYC and at least some form of verification that people are not money laundering in their platforms. Now, Tether is a stablecoin issuer. I'm not sure how they would be able to make this compliance. Maybe if they were to partner up with Coinbase, the same way they've partnered up with Binance, is where you would see this kind of, take an effect for them. But it is still enforcing people to follow a set of rules, especially with know your customer or KYC. So I think Elizabeth Warren is, to an extent, just fear-mongering what this passing of the bill could do.
Yeah, I think Tether is going to be the biggest risk in the end. And okay, do we want to talk Polymarket now?
Yeah, totally. Do you want to lead that?
Yeah, let me pull open my screen. This is more or less breaking news. 9:53 a.m. It's 12:46 right now as we record this. Polymarket's going to officially return to the United States market after acquiring a crypto's derivative exchange. It's called QCY, and that exchange is actually regulated fully. So the exchange is I believe it's a CFTC. There we go. I had to look at my notes. A regulated exchange, so they're able to like kind of roll in pretty quickly. Shane Copeland talked about this on Twitter. So he said Polymarket's acquired QCX, a CFTC regulated exchange and clearinghouse for $112 million. $112 million, like one thought, JR, like, why didn't they do this before? Like,
Well, one thing people need to understand is under the last administration, not to make this political, but they were very, very predatory. The people that were appointed under the SEC, they were very predatory for these kind of businesses. Even investors were very skeptical on supporting any crypto-based companies. Now that, that administration is longer present, it's kind of like night and day difference, where we're starting to see not only a lot of changes, a lot of money being poured in this sector, but also now legislation. We kind of just talked about the Genius thing, Clarity Act passing. I think if I were in the shoes of Shane Copeland, I would think, hey, now is probably a good time. Now that we're not going to be prosecuted by the SEC or the CFTC or anything, now would be a good time to start doing business in the US. And there's a lot of people who want to be doing business in the US. Right now, the only way you can access Polymarket is by using a VPN, which it's part of their terms and service, like, hey, you cannot use a VPN, but people still do it, So now it's going to make it much safer. And quite honestly, Kalshi is probably the biggest, or might be the only betting platform in the US. I know Robinhood was trying to do something similar. Yeah, predictions. Thank you. So Kalshi, I think even Y Combinator was starting to support Kalshi because Jerry Tan, the current head of the Y Combinator accelerator, he's come out quite in the open saying, hey, Kalshi we're supporting them. They're the underdogs or something.
Yeah. Also, one thing to notice on Kalshi is Robinhood uses them as their intermediary. And
okay, yeah, that makes sense.
Kalshi is also not a betting platform. The reason I corrected you on that is their CEO has come out and said they are not a betting platform.
Well, that makes sense.
Because, like, what they want to say is that everything is not gambling, and betting and gambling synonymous together. They want those sports contracts on Kalshi's platform because they want to be able to offer that. And sports is the biggest betting market in theory. But if you call it gambling, then you have state regulations. Some states don't allow you to gamble. Some do. There's so many things. So Kalshi has their own things. I don't think they're really based on crypto at all, right?
No, not at
all. Crypto of them. So Polymarket is really the only on-chain betting platform that's large and known out there. I think there's a few small ones that are popping up, but Kalshi is the non-crypto one. So it'll be interesting to see as Polymarket enters. If you go to that page, I like that they didn't request an email. They actually requested a phone number. They said they'll text you. So I'm super excited to see Polymarket in there. One of the topics that we were going to talk about was literally the astronomer CEO bets on Polymarket. We're talking whether that guy Andy Bryan, if you don't know, he was at a Coldplay concert with his head of HR as he's married and she's married, and freaked out and caused the greatest viral hit on the internet over the weekend. And there was bets on it, but for an American market, you'd have to go VPN, do that, all of that. I think that's a fun and fair way to do it. You're not betting on a sports game that could be rigged or anything, and you're not betting on a market per se. You're just betting on things that could happen. And I think these contracts are very clear. The Kalshi ones with sports gambling and all of that, it becomes more unclear because you do have the possibility of insider info and all of that. It's fascinating to see. And I'm really excited for Polymarket to be back. I've wanted to use Polymarket more, but doing anything on there is extremely hard.
Yeah. So Kalshi is relatively more user-friendly from my experience, but I'm very crypto maxi in of itself, where, I think there's so many brilliant use cases for having things on-chain, and I think Polymarket having its own on-chain verification system for outcomes. There's have been problems, to be honest. There's some controversies that you can find on Twitter, like the whole Zelensky wearing a suit. For those of you who don't know,
was it a suit or was it not?
Yeah, was he wearing a suit or not?
I don't think he was.
Some say he has, some say he wasn't. I think he even came out himself saying it was a suit. It's not a conventional suit, I'll tell you that much. So I'm kind of on the fence of what it could be. But a lot of people disagree. A lot of people say yes. A lot say no. And because with the way the UMA protocol is set up on chain, which is part of Ethereum's blockchain, on the Optimus protocol, you can dispute something by buying it, like a dispute, which is relatively expensive. It's about $1,000. which I think you can buy it on Polygon. But the point being is the fact that there is still some way for people to verify any of these outcomes on chain, a decentralized, almost immutable ledger that is the blockchain. Having the opportunity to verify that there, I think it speaks volumes. I would trust that more than Kalshi. So for those reasons, I support Polymarket. But I'm very excited as well to see it coming to the US. Again, I don't want to use a VPN anymore to use it. You know what I mean? So
Exactly.
I'm excited.
Polymarket's coming to the United States, and now we have a new app called Base App. So let's talk about Coinbase. Like,
Yeah, let me share my screen here.
okay, there you go.
Awesome. So without further ado, so the Base app, what is their new handle? Before it was known as Coinbase Wallet, but at the end of it had TBA. And as far as, this is their pinned post where they kind of go all into what Base app is and everything that we're going to talk about here in a moment. This is kind of like the TLDR, or too long didn't read. So TBA stands for the Base app, which brilliant marketing in of itself. They also use the blue square emoji to talk about the Base app, which Jesse Pollock, which is the creator of the Base blockchain or the Base layer 2 blockchain, he kind of takes pride in the whole team here because in this almost 2 hour long stream, he goes to talk about how Base was created. And I'm not going to tell you everything. You can watch this video on your own. We'll link the video here in the bio. But long story short, he joined Coinbase and he met Brian Armstrong. And after some time of working with him, he kind of almost pitched Base. And because Brian was like, hey, well, if you can do something with a small team instead of getting like all these billions in resources, if you can do something with a small amount of money, then maybe they can pour more money into it. But that was like about 2 years ago or so. Now, Base, makes a lot of money for Coinbase, and it took a sizable chunk of the decentralized, or the self-custody wallet, downloading the app. I think right now, if you download the app, you won't get the same experience that Base provides, but they are sending invites. So if you can somehow get an invite from any of the Coinbase team, or should I say the Base team, as well as people who are pretty active there on Base, or even Farcaster, because Farcaster is embedded into the Coinbase wallet, or the Base app, then you can actually get that experience.
Let me slide in real quick. So this Coinbase rebrand, it's a wallet app. It's the wallet app that's now the Base app. So the wallet went from Coinbase Wallet to the Base app. They're essentially launching a crypto super app. JR, you kind of had this fundamentally at the start, so somewhat validating for you. But they're integrating a wallet, payments, which payments is USDC, trading, social feed, and chat. That's via Farcaster. They have some AI tools in there. I don't really know what those are yet. And then they have mini apps in there, which are just kind of like games and a bunch of stuff built on it. And it's all on top of layer 2 Base network. So very like Web3 super app, Web3 gateway. I don't know why Coinbase is really positioning this Base app as like a one-stop Web3 gateway, considering they look like they're much more of an infrastructure company than a consumer company, but this is kind of like their way to be like infrastructure, like AWS, Amazon, and then also be the consumer side, which is, Amazon, the web store, and then also them have like the super app. Super apps don't work in the United States very well, like generally. So we'll kind of see how this pushes through. Like that was kind of my feedback to even JR back in the day, is super apps have a really hard time in the United States. Look at WeChat, look at Line in China, they succeed. But in the United States, Facebook fell flat on its face trying to build its own super app and inevitably broke everything out and purchased Instagram and WhatsApp and has Messenger and all of this like mess of everything. So I'm interested to see how well Base does in the end. But
yeah, me too.
It's it looks, from a market reaction, it looked very positive.
Yeah, very. I think some people even there made in Farcaster. I don't think you have the capacity to leave tips or buy people within posts. So Base created its own, I want to say, patent way for people to kind of leave tips into a platform where you can buy posts as tokens or tokenized posts on the Base blockchain. And if a post does really good, its value could theoretically go up in value. At the same time, if it gets a lot of likes, that could, I think, influence the value of the post to some capacity. So I still have a few questions on how it works, but I've seen you can see kind of how much the poster on that post has made money in that post. I've said
The post on the post.
the post of the post. So
No,
I've said it so many
I saw
times,
a bunch of the Twitter sphere talking about, I made this viral post. I made $32 in an hour. Like, it was really interesting to see those kind of talks. And I've been trying to get a invite, but getting an invite has been increasingly hard just because every time somebody posts about it, like, I mean, within 10 minutes, there's like 200 replies. It's just
there is
insane.
Yeah, I think it's kind of interesting. So Social Market, before it used to be called that, it was Websy, and we were using the Diesel blockchain to kind of create what Base app has done here. It obviously didn't go very well for us, but it's very interesting seeing how Base is taking on building a super app on crypto, which it almost seems a little convoluted just based on some of the screenshots and even from that video they shared. But I mean, only time will tell. We'll see what happens. We first need to get into it, which I think Jesse Pollack was openly inviting people. So if you can send them a DM or even leave a comment on one of their posts on Twitter, then you can maybe be lucky and get an invite.
Yes. And let's see if any of us get lucky and get that invite.
Yeah.
I think that's all the topics for this week. Just from my side, if you're still watching, leave us a review on Apple Podcast. Leave us a thumbs up on YouTube. Tell your friends about us. I think that's the most important thing that's going to help get this show out there. And, we really appreciate you listening. Anything, JR, on your side?
Yeah, no, you pretty much said what I wanted to say. If you like this video, give it a like. If you dislike it, give it a dislike. If you really enjoy it, you can subscribe as well, share it to your friends, your family. Happy to educate everyone on what's happening on the crypto world, which every week, as you may have already noticed, if you've been following along, a lot of things happen, a lot of things change. And for some people, it can be hard to keep up. I feel like it's our job to help you stay on top of it. At least as far as what is actually important and what isn't important, we won't discuss it. But yeah, I hope you like the content. I think that's about it.